turns out that what I have actually been doing all this time on my own has been a form of meditation.
Do you have, apart from successful stories, funny or embarrassing ones you can share with us happened during this swim?
I think this is something that people always are curious about, is actually, I think that's probably a good skill and probably doesn't get talked enough about in public. I've already been swimming for almost like 6 hours in the dark, and she gets in the water, and it's just so nice to have this person next to me, because that is the darkness swimming in Catalina. I think that there's still a healthy fear. It's healthy. I have seen sharks in Australia, and I swam right over it, convinced myself that it was a rock. I didn't say anything, and it turned out it was a great white shark. Don't be afraid of what is out there. Don't be afraid of failure. There are people around you keeping you safe. Once you can get over that hump, literally push yourself over and get out, it transforms what swimming is like.
Hey friends, okay, here's the real talk. Before you start listening, could you do me a quick favor? Tap that follow button and smash the like. It seriously helps so much and means a lot to me. I'm over here putting my heart and hours of editing into every episode, and your support means everything to me. It keeps this little podcast show dreams keep growing. Thank you, and you're absolutely the best. You are now listening to Hervien's podcast. Thanks for tuning in. It's so nice to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for having me.
Edie, you have achieved major accomplishments in the open water swimming world. Can you share with us a bit more with our listeners who you are and what are you currently doing?
I have a swimming background. I started swimming when I was a small kid in California and doing some summer swim team, then high school. Then I swam at my university in Boston. And then after that, I totally just got burned out. I didn't want to compete anymore. And I just didn't really know what else there was. I tried to run. I'm a terrible runner. And I didn't really do very much for about 15 years until I moved to Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is surrounded by water. So naturally, I did go to the beach a few times and swim a little bit, mostly inside the shark net, and then swim in pools, but only for myself. I never joined any team because I just didn't want to have the structure of my youth. I didn't want to race. And then I slowly started hearing about, there were like these open water swims that were happening in the summertime. There were 2 kilometers happening in Bigway Bay and Sheco. So I signed up to do a 2K race. And at first it was a little intimidating having all these people around you and kind of racing and swimming over you. But once I kind of found my rhythm and I knew that there were all these other people around me, I was going to be safe. I felt more comfortable, but, I still didn't really want to join any teams or anything. So I didn't practice for a year until this swim would come around again. And then I would swim in the pool a few times in my pool and then go and sign up for this race again. And so this went on for several years. And then I heard that there was this bigger swim called the Clean Half, which happened in October. And it was from Stanley to Deepwater Bay, like a 15-kilometer swim, and you could do it as a relay. I was like, oh, that sounds like fun, but I really don't know anybody to be on my relay team. So I really had to sort of scrounge around and ask colleagues, do you swim? I managed to find 3 other people. One was actually a swimmer, and then he pulled in another guy, and we were this sort of ragtag team, and we had a great time. And that's when they started saying, well, you should really come on Sunday and join us. And I was kind of like still hesitant. And after a few more months of this going by, I finally signed up to just go on a Sunday. And I found that, these guys were pretty nice and they were very fast and seemingly quite competitive. But, I gave it a go and I kept coming back, and I decided that, all right, maybe just once a week I'll go. And then it sort of slowly, build up my confidence. Once a week became Saturday and Sunday. And we started to do a little bit longer distances from 3K swims to 5K swims. And I found that it wasn't so hard to sort of step up the distance. Although I did like to take naps in the afternoon afterwards. So my brother and I decided that we wanted to do a swim in Hawaii called the Maui Channel, because I grew up in California, and the parents of the kids that I swam with had participated in a relay that was similar to the clean half relay, just a bunch of people swimming across a channel in Hawaii. And we thought we wanted to do that when we were older someday. And we decided that we were going to do it in 2015. But rather doing it as a relay, we decided that we would do it as a tandem solo and we would swim it together. And that was sort of my first big distance swim. And my brother joined me in Hawaii, and we both went over to Maui, and then we swam from the island of Lanai to Maui. It was 15 kilometers. It took us over 6 hours to do. And that was kind of just the sort of beginning of this adventure of open water swimming. As I sort of got more confident in myself in being in the water for 6 hours, I decided that same year I would do the clean half, but do it as a solo for the first time, rather than a relay. And then the organizer asked me to try the cold half, which is the same distance, the same course, but done in January, February, when the water temperature was a bit colder, between 15 to 18 degrees. And at that time, in February 2016, no female had ever completed it. So I tried it, and I became the first female to swim it. And now it's become sort of an annual thing for me to do. And this past January, I did a double, and I was the first person to do the whole thing in the winter as a double. And that really was tough.
That was really amazing. I definitely want to drill down a bit more of your tough swimming experience. I also want to know a bit more about the insides out, what is the behind the scenes of an open water swimmer. You shared a bit in the beginning. You like to take naps after the swim. In terms of preparations before such a big swim, as you said, it's 15 kilometers, and even sometimes you did more, 20K or plus. What was the preparation beforehand in terms of maybe nutrition and mindset, or do specific trainings in the pool?
My training has evolved. I'm sort of a very organic swimmer. As I said, I didn't really like structure for a long time. And I didn't want to tell anybody until after I finished, but for my around Hong Kong Island swim in 2018, I was ramping up my distances, but I never set foot in the pool. Every swim was just a long distance swim on Saturdays and Sundays, and I didn't even have the flexibility of doing open water swimming during the week because I was working. It was pretty much all loaded up on the 2 days of Saturday and Sunday. And then over the years, as I become a little bit more serious about my training, it has involved a bit more of pool swimming. And I have now joined a team called Swim Lab, and it's coached by Coach Fan. And she trains a lot of triathletes, and she's getting a lot more open water swimmers who are doing distance training with her also. So it's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the pool with her, swimming for at least an hour and a half, and then ramping up to bigger swims. I'll stay in the pool longer and do usually another hour, 2 hours of pool swimming. This winter, we were in a different pool than our normal Hong Kong U pool. So it was at the Hong Kong Country Club. So afterwards, I would get out and walk over to VRC and go into the sea and swim another 3 or 4K just on my own. And also it was good because the water temperature was cold. So it was good for me to the pool temperature water was 29 degrees. So walking over and jumping into 16-degree water was a shock to the system, but it was also really good training. So I'm also working with a coach in Australia for my upcoming swim. So I've had a program for the first time. He's put me on a sort of, it's kind of crazy that I've actually gone back to a structure where a coach is giving me workout, or not so much workouts, but he's given me every week my focus and how much distance I should be aiming for. And it's kind of it's kind of helped me sort of not have to think too much on my own about second guessing myself. Am I doing more? Should I be doing more? Should I be holding back a little bit more? There's always a sort of thought in your head that you should be doing more. Just like, if I'm sleeping on the sofa, I should be getting off the sofa and I should be doing more distance. But it's been nice to have a sort of plan, because before that, I've always been a very sort of organic swimmer. I go to swim lab and then I do whatever else I want to do later. And I'm like, well, okay, I did 25K this week. Oh, I did 30K this week. Distance was always up, but I just didn't really have anybody telling me I need to focus on certain things.
I totally get you. So do you enjoy having a bit more structured training now?
I don't mind it now. I think that it's taken me all these years from having the coach in the pool when I was younger, and now having like probably 20 years of not, 25 years of not having that, over 25 years of not having that in my life, coming back to it and having this structure as I sort of plan my other swims. And I think I had been wandering around aimlessly, like, oh, I'll do that swim, I'll do that swim. But now I slowly am focusing on bigger swims. And so I kind of feel like I need to try narrowing down, just focus on movement.
That's really nice. And in terms of nutrition, does he also give you some guidance into like what's best for particularly this race coming up?
My nutrition, I've never really consulted any nutritionists, but I eat pretty healthy. I'm kind of a pescatarian, more vegetarian. I am trying to get a little bit more protein in my body. So I do have fish, and I do have like a supplement with protein powder in my smoothies. That's usually my breakfast is a fruit smoothie with a protein powder with yogurt and oat milk. I eat a lot of pasta. I'm very carb heavy. I absolutely love bread. Will never give up bread. I love cheese.
Bread and cheese for life.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, I probably don't have like, the super lean, healthy, clean diet, but it works for me. I'm always a little bit on the heavier side. I'm a little bit like, sort of by Hong Kong standards, I think that they value tiny, petite bodies, but, I think that I'm a healthy body. And I think that there's too much emphasis on trying to lose weight. And, my body, I'm nearly 50. I'm turning 50 this year. It's done me very well, knock on wood. And, my weight fluctuates a little bit, but I always have this extra padding on me, and it's completely suited me well. I don't really want to lose it, because I'm very good in cold water. I'm adapted to swimming at 15 degrees, 16 degrees without actually having to add more weight. I think that the fat has converted to brown fat, and the system is functioning just right. So I don't really want to rock the boat too much and be drastic about changing diets. I think that I eat enough calories during the day. I'm not pigging out, but I do treat myself to pizzas and French fries.
That's really nice. Yeah, it's so important. I mean, end of the day, like listening to your body is most important, and whatever works best for you is the best, like for you as a long distance swimmer. So if you find a way that figures out that's best for your body, that's good.
Yeah, I think that if you look at distance swimmers, and especially the ones that have done huge, big swims, we're not petite people. We're not tiny. I don't think that you can hold up this kind of endurance by being super, super tiny and slim and, not eating very much. I think having the extra body fat has done really well for me. I don't wear a wetsuit. I'm very buoyant. I don't need to kick very much because my legs just float. And yeah, I mean, I think that my doctor has looked at my, like my BMI and stuff. She's not a specialist in athletics and stuff.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, you might want to lose some weight. But then I told her what I keep the weight on for. And she's like, oh, okay, I understand now. Yeah.
I get you. At the end of the day, it's always nice to have someone who know like what you're actually doing instead of just giving like very general advice, oh, you need to lose some weight, but without hearing a whole story, what is actually going on. On the other hand, open water swimming is also a very, to me, I see it as a very mentally challenging sport, apart from just physically, especially if you're swimming such long distance in the ocean, on your own. I have tried some open water swimming in the past. My mind have been thinking about so many things while I swim. I was wondering for you, Edie, what's actually going on your mind? Have you been going through thinking some amusing or strange thoughts? What's actually happening? Or do you keep yourself focused?
I try to be present. I've never taken any meditation classes. I don't really find them that useful, but it turns out that what I have actually been doing all this time on my own has been a form of meditation. I am thinking about what my hands are doing, where my each stroke is doing. I'm thinking about the breathing, kind of looking around, seeing my, if my boat is there, my kayaker, good swimming on my side. So I'm fully aware of what's going on. But then, your mind does wander, and that's totally natural. I start thinking about phone calls I need to make, emails I need to return, work stuff, things that I cannot do at all during that time while I'm in the water. And then, it comes in and kind of oh, shoot, I forgot that. But there's nothing I can do until after I'm done. And then by the time I finish, I have forgotten what I was supposed to do. But it has, it does take sort of lots of random thoughts to come into my head, but then the focus is always going back to breathing, back to the strokes, kind of figuring out how my legs are feeling, my back, all the sort of parts of my body. Are my shoulders okay? And just kind of constantly giving myself feedback that I maybe, I'm feeling that the current is pushing against me or the waves are slapping against me. Perhaps I need to pick up my cadence a little bit. And, just if I'm feeling good, then I might start turning over my stroke rate a little faster. Or do I need to sort of back off? Or is the current with me so I don't need to work so hard? So I'm constantly thinking about what's going on.
Got you. And you have to be aware, right? Because the ocean has so many changes. It's not like you're swimming in a confined pool, everything is safe. In the ocean, so many things happen. You have to keep yourself focused, aware of what's happening in the boat and the strokes. That's really important.
Yeah, I am easily distracted. I do see things floating around, jellyfish, fish, or things. I'm oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? During training swims, I stop all the time I carry a phone with me that for emergencies, but also I use it to take pictures of my friends and of fish that I see, interesting things that I come across. I allow myself distraction on my training swims because that's the beauty of being in the open water is that, the environment is constantly changing and dynamic.
You also take the time to enjoy what's around.
Yeah, if you wanted a sterile environment and you wanted to just stare at a line in the bottom of the pool all day long, go ahead. The view is not going to change. That's the beauty of being in the open water. It's that every time you take a breath, something could come up,
Yeah.
All of a sudden there's somebody next to you. All of a sudden there's a boat zooming by, or, you have to constantly be aware because there are hidden dangers in the water.
Yeah, and we did hear some stories. That's why it's important to be aware of what's surrounding you. And I wonder for people, they have shared your successful stories. And I also hear a lot they are amusing. You have swim all around different parts of the world. Do you have, apart from successful stories, funny or embarrassing ones you can share with us happened during the swim?
I think this is something that people always are curious about, is actually going to the bathroom in the water. I think this is obviously a natural body function.
Yeah.
And it's part of being healthy.
Yes.
Peeing, it took me a long time to learn how to pee in the water. I think that it was just this going to the bathroom was always for me reserved for the toilet. I could not go in the water. And then it took me years of practice. Then finally I learned to relax and go to the bathroom. But then, I have to be relaxed in the water. And it's still an ongoing, I'm still trying to perfect. I'm still trying to struggle to pee while moving. And that is the next goal. I mean, I've done it a few times. It takes so much energy. I don't find it relaxing because You have to really sort of stop your legs from moving. And for me, also, the arms almost practically stop moving too. So I'm basically not moving very much. And it's something I want to be able to do because on my bigger swims, I usually wait till I feed, and I feed every 45 minutes. So I get a bottle of water or a bottle of nutrition tossed to me with carbohydrates and protein, and I drink it down as fast as I can. But then I'm not coordinated enough that I can just do it at the same time, like drinking and peeing at the same time. So I have to stop. And then after I'm done, they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I have to pee. And then they're all like, my whole crew, the pilot, everybody's had to stop and wait for me to pee. And they're all staring at me. And that kind of like embarrassing because you're just kind of like, wait. And they're like, are you done yet? And you're like, no, not quite yet. So I'm still trying to master the whole peeing while moving so that nobody actually knows I'm doing it. I have actually pooped in the water too, and that was not fun. I usually try to time it so that before my swims, I tried to like empty out my stomach because I know I'm going to be gone for 15 hours or 12 hours, So, and then sometimes I've flown across the world, so the body hasn't completely adapted. So it does take a little while to get the poop cycle working, and I've I've done it here in Hong Kong on a training swim. It was not fun. It was actually rather painful, and that was like, but it was good to have that experience to know that yeah, I can do it in the water. It's just not a fun thing to do. But I mean,
I've actually never heard that. Like, it's actually important skill set to learn now that I've heard from you because it's a natural body need. You can't avoid it.
yeah, I think that sometimes when you're under, stress, if this is like a big swim, or your body kind of naturally doesn't want to do that anymore. No, you have to be kind of relaxed. I have to be on the toilet. I have to be kind of like in my comfortable space and not, under stress of, with the pressure of making 30 kilometers or something. So, and then also I'm drinking mostly liquids. So it's actually easier on the stomach. So yeah, I think that's probably a good skill and probably doesn't get talked enough about in public.
It's good to be aware, and it's good to know. Like, people always think about just how to feel, but the body needs they haven't think about. It's actually good to be mentally prepared for that. Well,
Yeah, and it's not good to hold it. So you really, if it needs to come, if you need to pee, you need to pee. Don't hold it because it will be absolutely miserable for you to hold
it's not
on.
healthy.
It's not healthy. But I've had that bloated feeling too where I can't pee. And that is really also bad. And because all you're thinking about, like, you're supposed to be thinking about your arms, your stroke, and all you're thinking about is, I wish I could pee. I wish I could pee.
That's good to know. Now that we'll be more aware, definitely next time when we go on an open water swimming journey. And Edie, and you already mentioned in the past importance of community in the open water swimming circle. And it's good to have a circle of friends and support around you, especially when you're doing such long distance swimming, hours and hours. You had a moment where you had like support from family, friends, or like your swimming buddy on that particular trip. Having the support from them like makes a huge difference during a very tough swim.
Well, I'd say two instances where I really had kind of a nice push. When I first swam around Hong Kong Island, that was really one of my earliest really long distance swims. It took me 12 and a half hours. And this was 2018. And I really had the community behind me. I had all my friends behind me. I had quite a few of my friends on the boat, and they were either paddling for me or being a support swimmer with me. And every time they got in with me, I felt the sort of like a surge of energy, and having them, we don't have to say anything. We didn't have time to talk to them, but just having this sort of another human next to me just kind of made things a lot better. And at the very end of my 360, 45 kilometer swim, I was quite familiar with that area. Started and finished in the western side of the harbor. And so I knew how much distance I had left. And my last they were support swimmers that hopped in, two of them, and they flanked me. And they, as soon as they got in, I knew that the end was near. And it was kind of brought tears to my eyes, but I was like, I can't cry because I have goggles on. But it made me so happy to see my friends jumping in at the end and escorting me to the finish, and then having everybody there at this Saiwan swim shed cheering for me when I finished was so cool. And similar swim was in 2023 when I was doing my Catalina Channel swim. And that one, I had two friends, one from Hong Kong, another swimmer with me, and a friend from LA who all the three of us actually went to the same school together, and at different years. I didn't actually know the LA one until actually that I had corresponded with her, but I had never met her in person. And she said that she was available and she could be on my boat. And she had done the swim and accompanied people. So she knew exactly, what I needed. And so she's like, I'll get in like maybe 1 hour before the sun rises, because really the swim started at 11 p.m. and it goes through the night and then into the day. And it is true that the darkest time is just right before sunrise, and it's very lonely and very dark. And I've already been swimming for almost like 6 hours in the dark, and she gets in the water, and it's just so nice to have this person next to me, because that is the darkness. Swimming in Catalina it was fine, but also I think my mind was wandering about what else was underneath me. And at one point, while my friend was swimming to the left, on my left, I think I saw something like moving underneath me, like a shadow. And my heart just leapt up, and I made a beeline to my kayaker. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything to the kayaker. I didn't say anything to her, basically abandoned her. I just kept telling myself, just look at my hands, don't look down, don't look down. And I thought I was hallucinating. I always try to tell myself that I'm actually hallucinating, and it's not the figment of my imagination. It wasn't until after I finished that my friend asked me, she's like, when I was swimming next to you, did you see something moving underneath? And I was like, yeah. And she said, I saw it too. So I think we couldn't have both been hallucinating. There definitely was something underneath us, and it was good to have somebody next to me.
Yeah. Well, that fear of what's underneath the water, is that fear still there?
I think that there's still a healthy fear. It's healthy. I think anytime I do any of these swims, there's a healthy respect for what is down there that I don't see. Although I do hope that it's dolphins that are swimming and not, sharks that want to eat me. But I have seen sharks in Australia, and I swam right over it, convinced myself that it was a rock. I didn't say anything, and it turned out it was a great white shark. So I think that trying to psych myself out is good. Just trying to say, it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is.
We hope it was some cute, harmless creatures down there, and that would be the best. And if you could time capsule one piece of advice for future open water swimmers, obviously there are like people who want to transition from as a swimmer in the pool to open water swimming. What will be your wisdom or advice for them?
I'd say don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of what is out there. Don't be afraid of failure. There are people around you keeping you safe. I think that you need to practice safe swimming, swim with people, but also, I take a phone for emergencies, not to be afraid, not to be restraining yourself to just swimming inside the shark net. I think that living in Hong Kong, we're so lucky that we are able to explore outside the shark net. There's a whole world out there, that, there's all these caves that we discovered and really cool places, islands that we can swim to and around, that sort of don't be afraid to do these things. Don't be afraid to get beyond the shark net, beyond what's out there, because I think that it really does it makes things so much more enjoyable when you are able to overcome that fear and get over that. It is a very arbitrary yellow line, the shark net. And once you can get over that hump, literally push yourself over and get out, or out of the pool and get out of that sort of perimeter, that wall that you are penned up in, and just break free and see the world. It transforms what swimming is like. I mean, I think that why I was burned out was because I didn't want to, I didn't know. I didn't know that there was life beyond just swimming back and forth in a pool until I got to Hong Kong and I started discovering that open water swimming and all these friends that I could make, and how I could actually appreciate the environment that I live in. I see Hong Kong so differently from everybody else. I mean, I think there are runners that run trails and they run, hills and stuff that I don't like climbing. But also I see Hong Kong in a different way because the islands, and I see things that a lot of other people don't get to see. So it's made me appreciate where I live, and also appreciate me traveling wherever I go and seeing new parts of the world and exploring. Because it's everywhere I can go that has water, I will be there. I will swim.
I love it. That's really amazing. You're always on an adventurous life. Now I think here, I need to do more. I love it.
I think it's been kind of like a midlife crisis. It wasn't until I was like about 40, 45, 44 years old that I started to think about these swims and longer and longer and longer. So, I think that's the other thing, that don't think that you are too old to do things. I think that there's a lot of people that have hung up. I used to be a swimmer. I don't swim anymore. I just want to do, a little bit of easy stuff. But I think that the body, for endurance especially, is very adaptable. So you might not be at your fastest as fast as you were when you were 20 years old, but you can adapt to endurance. And it's so great, because I look at so many of the people that have done the Ocean 7, and most of them are actually over 50. A lot of them are even over 60. So it gives me a lot of hope that, this stuff is not something that is just, turn a certain age, I have to be done with it by a certain age. This is something that is ongoing, and it really doesn't matter how old you are. You can, go on these huge adventures.
Yeah.
If you're
age is not the limit. And as long as you keep exploring, the whole lot more for you to go out there to explore.
Yeah.
And is there any way we can reach out to you?
Well, I would say if you wanted to sponsor me, that would be great. But I don't think anybody really wants to sponsor a middle-aged athlete.
There's always the possibility. Don't put limits.
Exactly.
Why not? We'll look for one. If you're in Hong Kong, especially, if anyone is listening and want to join your swims during weekends, is it possible? And where would it be?
Yeah. So I run a group called Southside Swimming, and we swim on Sunday mornings in Repulse Bay, meeting around 8:15 and swimming at 8:30. It's a very social group, so we always have coffee afterwards. I think a lot of the people have really become like family to me over the years. We have people that are just new to open water swimming that have done pool swimming, and then we have people that are sort of more seasoned and looking to do longer and longer distances. But it's really great because it's a very supportive community. And so as long as you know how to swim and can swim mostly freestyle and are comfortable in the open water, then you can comfortably join our group, because some of the people are only wanting to do maybe about 1.5 kilometers, and there are other people that want to do 5 kilometers. So it varies, and I usually try to find people to pair up with a buddy, if you're new, so that you can have somebody to swim with.
That's nice. And did you have to bring any safety equipment as well when they come on to swim?
Yeah, we would like everybody to have one of those orange safety buoys that you can tow behind you. It's more for the visibility. We have quite a lot of boats around, and we want to have them see us, but it also helps to use, if you're tired, you can kind of hang on it. And it also can hold your nutrition. It can hold your water, your phone, your keys, your wallet. So those things are actually pretty good, useful for swimming.
I love that. I hope more people will come to join your swimming on the weekends. And then I hope more people explore the beauty of Hong Kong, like following your swim.
And I also am on Instagram. I don't use it as much, but it's Edie Swims Hong Kong. Edie swims with an S and then Hong Kong, all one word.
Amazing.
Okay, yeah, and have them join us if they want. And if your listeners are overseas and they ever come to Hong Kong and want to see Hong Kong, slightly different Hong Kong, or just come and find us and join us for a swim.
Thank you so much, Edie, for your time. I really appreciate it, and I really love your journey, and I wish you all the best of luck in your swim.
Thank you, Herb.
Thank you.